Hello YouTube people. But I go through all the shit. I've successfully avoided everything until now, so I'm just gonna read through the whole bloody thing because I need to know absolutely everything. Make it bigger. Right. The Metamorph Challenge League. Challenges are blah 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 blah. Same as normal. In the Metamorphosis Challenge League, fellow exile Thane Octavius, who I'm just going to call Octavian 1 from now on, is interested in all the sources of ill intent in the world, what he calls the intrinsic darkness. Help him by harvesting flesh samples from monsters throughout Rayclast and combining them to summon powerful transforming bosses. Metamorph. Oh, it's Thane? Right, not Tane. Right, that's what the little line above it means. Okay, cool. I'm on board. I'm on board. The more difficult the encounter you create, the greater the rewards. There's a new type of currency, the Catalyst, is available only by creating and defeating these powerful foes. Catalyst can be used to increase the quality of your rings, belts, and amulets in specific way, enhancing certain types of modifiers. Okay. Once you reach maps, you will be able to acquire samples from map bosses in different areas and combine them in Thane's lab for fights that are extra difficult, but extra rewarding. With 390, there are standard hardcore blah blah blah, all the normal leagues, and you can create private leagues. There are challenges at 12, 24, and 36. I think the portal looks amazing. From the 19th onwards, yep, so that's all normal. Major new content and features. Conquerors of the Atlas, a brand new endgame mapping experience. The Shaper and the Elder have both been defeated. Just not by you. Another group of exiles has saved Rayclast from these celestial harbingers of doom. But that wasn't enough. They continued to cut paths through the Atlas, leaving carnage in their wake, forcing Zaina to seal them in the Atlas forever. But they are trying to find a way out. Can you stop them before they bring ruin to Oriath? Featuring 5 new endgame bosses, powerful rewards, including new currencies, and new ways to modify your Atlas. So they're not still sane. Okay. Added a new dexterity skill gem, Artillery Ballista. Summons a ballista that propels a sequence of fiery arrows into the air. The arrows impact the ground in a line, each dealing area damage to the enemies around it. Okay, cool. Added the new dexterity skill gem, Shrapnel Ballista. Summons a ballista totem that fires multiple arrows with extreme force, breaking them apart into shrapnels. Enemies can be hit by multiple arrows from the same attack. New dexterity skill gem, Ensnaring Arrow. Fires an arrow we know all about. I feel like this one's going to be the least used one, despite it seeming useful. Added the new dexterity support gem, Greater Volley. Okay, so it's exactly what you think it is. It's volley, but the GMP version. Okay, cool. Added the new dexterity support gem, Arrow Nova. This will turn any bow skill into Tornado Shot, and we don't know what it'll do if you use it on Tornado Shot. That will be interesting. I would like to know that. Added a new dexterity support gem, Barrage Support, which literally just turns every skill into barrage, which is fantastic, and I'm definitely going to use it. Added new currency, Crusader's Exalted Orb, Hunter's Exalted Orb, Redeemer's Exalted Orb, Warlord's Exalted Orb, Each one of these currencies will add an additional modifier to a rare item from its associated pool of influence modifiers. Added a new currency, Orb of Awakening. This item can be used on any item with influence, such as Shaper and Influenced Ring, and then any item of the same type, a ring in this case, to transfer that influence onto a new item. The original item will be destroyed as a result of this process, but some of the original item's mods may be carried over to the destination item. The item can have 2 influence types attached to it if they are transferred this way. Okay. Alright. Added 16 new unique items, 35 awakening supports, more powerful versions of the existing support gems. These gems are only available from the Conquerors of the Atlas content. 35? That's more than I was expecting. Alright. 14 new divination cards to ruin all of the grind in the game. Cool. Alright, minor new content and features. Did they rename Support Gem Plus? Yes. They're called Awakened Support Gems. Or Woke Support Gems, if you will. In fact, if you had a skill that was supported by only Awakened Gems, you could definitely refer to that as a Woke skill. Minor new content and features. You can now add item filters to your account through the Path of Exile website. When you log into the game client, no matter where you are logging in from, you will have access to all of these item filters tied to your account, even if you're playing on the console. Lionized Watch has been visually updated and uses our latest rendering technology. Yeah. There's a new loading screen as you enter Lionized Watch to match the new town's new look. Fantastic. Added a vendor recipe for your spare catalysts. Spare catalysts? Don't know about that. I really do like changing, but we'll see. You can now refund multi-choice passives, such as those on the Ascendant. Reselect your choice without having to refund all the passives after them as well. That is a pretty big buff. That's nice. I like that. Added 3D art to Torchoke Step and Machina Mitts. I feel like I know what the Machina Mitts are, but don't know what that is. Torchon Step. I actually don't know that one. Ranged attack totems are now called ballistas and have a cool new light. Look, it's a ballista. Cool. A lot of ranged attack skills have received major visual improvements, including the basic wand and bow attacks. Burning Arrow, Barrage, and Puncture. Arrows that collide with terrain now have a chance of bouncing off it. This doesn't do anything other than look really cool, and help performance in situations where players are firing thousands of arrows. Cool. Other skills have also received visual improvements, including Firestorm, Frostblink, Freezing Pulse, Heavy Strike, Magma Orb, Summon Skeletons, all the Warcry skills, Lightning Tendrils, Flesh Offering, Arc, and Sunder. Some of those already looked really cool. Added a Labyrinth enchant for the new skills, as well as Burning Arrow and Explosive Arrow. Could we just remove some of the... That is so bad now. Could we just remove some of the shittier... Anyway. Improves the Shadows Double Dagger Dual Strike animation. Continue to incrementally improve sound, art, effects, and environment. Alright, Atlas change. The Atlas of World has been reworked. You now start in the center and you will work your way towards the outside. Work your way outwards as you explore a new storyline. Shaper and Elder storyline is gone and have been replaced by a story that takes place in the aftermath of the old story. Added 5 new difficult endgame bosses, each with their own special loot, including several new item types. Added a new mechanic, Watchstones. These can be obtained by defeating one of the new Atlas bosses. These can be used to raise the tier of all maps in a particular region of the Atlas, causing all maps of those base types to drop at the new higher tier. Sextants can no longer be applied to individual maps and no longer have a radius. They are now applied to watchstones instead, affecting every map in that watchstones region. They are not restricted by map tier, and if 2 or more watchstones contain the same sextant modifier, only one will be applied. Also, they've been renamed. You renamed my sextants? Okay. I'm sure, that'll be fine. Sure, I'll get used to that. Zayna can now sell Shaper and Elder Influence maps once you've progressed your Atlas enough. These act like the old Atlas Influence, creating new monsters, threat, and reward. The Zayna modifiers that changed map tiers or reroll map base types have been disabled, at least for now. That makes me really happy. That should never have existed. That was shit. Unique maps can now drop with varied tiers based on the state of your Atlas. Maps that previously had monster level overrides such as Hollow Ground now instead rely on the variable tier. Okay. Light mechanic added to the core game. 10%. Each encounter will have at least one oil or blighted map. Cassia will say some nonsense early on because we haven't upgraded her script yet. Sorry. 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 10% chance to encounter Cassia and her beautiful singing. I like this bit better. We haven't updated her script yet. Sorry. Alright, moving on. Character balance. Fortifies damage reduction. Effect is now multiplicative with other similar effects. Shock and chill calculations have been changed. In general, this makes it much easier to shock and chill monsters with low values of the ailment, but harder to reach higher values of shock and chill. The formula used to calculate shock and chill to calculate shock and chill magnitudes is now one half times damage percent of ailment threshold by 4? I don't know how math. That's already too much for me. We've added ailment thresholds to monsters. In the great majority of cases, ailment threshold matches the monster's maximum life. It primarily differs for especially high life monsters such as the Shaper, where the threshold is reduced to allow ailments to apply with hits that wouldn't ordinarily reach the required life threshold. Okay. We've added an ailment threshold to monsters. No, we did that. The minimum shock and chill value is now 5%. Ooh. To reach the minimum, you must now deal 0.4%. Okay. Ailment threshold associated with each single hit. To inflict a 10% chill, you must do 1.8% of a monster's threshold. 30% chill requires 28%. Yikes. The default shock magnitude for effects that apply shock without damage, such as skitterbots, is now 15 from 20. If that's the only skitterbot nerf, I am incredibly happy with skitterbots. We'll see. The alternate ailments such as sap, scorch, and brittle have slightly different calculations as they have lower caps on their magnitude. Nobody cares. Nobody cares. Get ailments. Get rid of them. What's sap? Skill rework. Shrapnel shot now fires 2 additional arrows at all levels. The arrows now degrade in flight, eventually vanishing. This limits the skill's base range. Modifiers to projectile speed will allow the arrows to travel further before they vanish. Skills deal a burst to damage in a cone. Increases and reduction to arrow speed also apply to this skill's area of effect. So increases to projectile speed will cause your cone to also reach further. Now gains added lightning as it levels. Now gains 1% projectile speed per quality. Arrows no longer pierce by default. Okay. Explosive arrow. Now costs 8 mana at gem level 1 from 18. Up to 10 at gem level 20 from 27. So now instead of like 85 mana per attack, it's going to end up being about 38-ish. Which is still, this is still a pretty expensive attack. Like, I just want to put that out there. Like, that helps a lot. But that's still pretty expensive. Like, that's, even with those numbers, that's still a pretty expensive attack. Arrows stick into enemies or walls and explode after a duration. The duration is no longer refreshed whenever a new arrow is attached. Previously, they were handled like charges, which refresh the duration whenever a new one was gained. If an enemy has multiple arrows stuck in them, the first one to explode will consume all other attached arrows, adding their arrows to the first. Yeah. Alright. I can't look at that. Sorry. Explosive arrows, cool. Only affects chance to ignite and critical strike determined by the exploding arrow. Okay, fine. Explosions now deal 50% of base damage. Explosions now deal added fire based on gem level. That's actually a pretty good amount. Now inherits the base critical strike from your weapon. Good. Now grants +2 explosion radius up to a cap. Determined by the gem level up to 19 at gem level 20. Previously it naturally capped at 10 due to the charge limit. Okay. Explosive arrows now deal 3% more damage with ignite per arrow on the target. Okay, cool. Explosive arrow looks good, guys. Alright, skill balance. All ballista totem skills, such as siege ballista, range attack totems, etc., have been renamed ballista totems. Now place the totem at melee range. Weird, but I'm okay with it. It's weird. My favorite arc, the range of arc, has been chained to another enemy is now 35 from 25. Now, for reference, it was 50 once upon a time when it was like OP and everyone was using it. They nerfed it to 25, and it's still good. It was still okay. This wasn't top tier, and because everyone had played it at 50, it felt terrible at 25. If you'd never played it, it still felt okay at 20. 35 is probably the right place for it to be at, honest. So that should actually be pretty good. Blast Rain now deals 30% of base damage at level 1 from 40 up to 36 at gem level 20 from 48. Sources of additional arrows now apply additional explosions. Now has 5 additional projectiles from 4. Okay, so it's a buff. The buff that looks like a nerf, it's fine. Burning Arrow now converts all physical to fire. Now has a 50% chance to ignite at all gem levels. Previously 30 to 49%. Now deals 50% more damage with ignite at gem level 1 from 30% up to 88% more. Gem level 20. Now applies an additional debuff when you ignite, dealing extra burning damage based on the magnitude of ignite. Now grants +1 to fire damage over time multiplier per 2% gem quality. Okay. Man, Burning Arrow actually looks good too. Burning Arrow actually looks good. Alright, Caustic Arrow now deals 8.8 base damage per second from 7. up to 1927 from 1714. Yo, caustic arrow buff. That's nice. Grants additional radius up to +6 from +3. Caustic arrow looking actually good. Discharge no longer has a target limit, previously limited to 30 targets. Cool, but we don't really have 30 targets in an area that often. Uh-oh, elemental hit. Uh-oh, elemental hit. Now deals 22 to 40 fire from 23 to 43 up to 891 from 1096. What is that, like a 10-12% nerf, something like that? I don't know how to math. And cold goes up to 729 from 869. Lightning 1465 from 1802. Gee. Ooh, that's okay. That's probably still fine. It did do a lot. Probably still fine. It'll just be a little weaker right off the bat. It'll still be fine though. Freezing Pulse. The art is more accurately reflected the rate at which the damage is dealt by projectiles. What? What? The art now more accurately reflects the rate at which the damage dealt by projectiles is reduced. Oh, so it'll like visually get weaker at a more appropriate time. Alright, cool. Ice Shot. No longer leaves chilled ground on impact. Now deals 130% of base damage from 120 up to 174 from 147. This was already my favorite bow ability. This was already my favorite bow ability. Now chills enemies as though dealing 100% more damage. Gem level 1 up to 194. 20. Now gains increased chill effect as the gem levels up to 19%. Alright. Hey. Wait until you get to the... Right, I'll keep going. I'll keep going. We'll get to it. We'll get to it. Ice Shot was already my favorite non-tornado shot build, and it looks pretty well buffed. Icicle Mines was providing an enormous area coverage and damage at very little cost, and it was also causing performance problems. These changes are intended to bring Icicle Mines in line with other mines, as well as alleviate the performance issues it was causing. I just want to point out that I was already playing a build that was better than Icicle Mines. I already wasn't playing Icicle Mines because Ball Lightning was better, so I wonder if they fucked that up too, or if they just didn't realize. Projectiles now fade over time, similar to Freezing Pulse, but without the gradual damage drop-off. In other words, the mines will have a shorter range by default, but can be increased with the skill's projectiles, okay? Now has 4 additional projectiles at all levels, from 6 at gem level 20. That really isn't that impactful, because it gains a bunch of extra projectiles for the amount of mines before it that have been detonated, so most of your projectiles came from the chain of explosions anyway. So that's not huge, it just hurts early. It probably won't matter by the time you're in maps, but it would matter for early leveling. Now gain 1% projectile speed for quality. Yeah, okay, cool. Lancing Steel now has a base attack time multiplier of 85% from 80%. Literally nobody cares. Now deals 135% of base damage at level 1 from 130 up to 180 from 175. Literally buffed it by 5%. No one cares. Increased hail effect. Okay, cool. The increase to pale effect from quality, 1% per quality, that's like the best part of this. That actually means something. 5% more base damage. 20% increased effective impale. Lightning Arrow deals 110 at level 1, up from 100 to 134, up from 119. Now shocks enemies as though dealing 100% more damage, up to 195% more damage. Cool. Now gains increased shock effect, up to 29%. Cool. Now gains 1% chance to shock, and 0.5% increased effective shock per 1% quality. Yeah, cool, alright. Lightning Spire Trap now deals about half the fucking damage at level 1. To about 20% less at 20. Oh, now strikes every 0.55 seconds, up from 3 seconds all the time. Okay. So they've really nerfed Lightning Spire for early. Like, end game, if it's like part of your build, probably still okay. A little bit less good than it was, but still okay. But for leveling, that's garbage. Because we've gone from 0.3 seconds per pulse to 0.55 and halved the flat damage. So it's less than half damage. It's more like 30% at level 1. It's like 30% of the damage at level 1. So the thing is, yeah, that is the thing. Silent just hit on it, is Lightning Spire Trap. I've always felt like Flamethrower Trap was like just nearly as good, just so close. But I don't see Flamethrower Trap here. So I guess we just change to Flamethrower Trap and call it a day. But okay, that's fine. Lightning Warp. If you now cast multiple Lightning Warps rapidly, you will travel between them all as they trigger the warp. The timing for each subsequent warp is based on the distance from the previous warp. Lightning Warp totems are a legit option. Lightning Warp totems are a legitimate option. Actually, not even a meme. Lightning Warp totems. Hello. That's fantastic. Molten Strike now deals 120% base damage at level 1, up to 139% at gem level 20 from 130. Yep, thanks for our 9% Molten Strike buff, except that we lost like 20% more from losing point blank. So Molten Strike got like a huge nerf overall. Orb of Storms now deals 7 at level 1 from 9, up to 155 at level 20 from 154. Now strikes every half second, up to every second at gem level 20 from 1 second at all levels. Yeah, guys, you forgot. You're not understanding how and why we're using Orb of Storms. This is fine. Orb of Storms is still fine. Continue on as normal. That is, they've not understood why we're all using Orb of Storms to level. This is just blatantly not understood. We're gonna continue. Pestilence Strike. Why is it used? So we use Orb of Storms currently because every time you use a lightning skill inside of Orb of Storms, it procs the Orb of Storm damage on top of its normal once per second pulse. Which means if you're throwing lightning based mines like Stormblast mines and an Orb of Storms down, every time you throw a mine, Orb of Storms ticks a damage again as well. And there's no internal cooldown on that. So the quicker you spam out mines, the quicker it uses stuff. So they nerfed the damage slightly because we've gone 2 to 7 from 3 to 9 up to 555 at max level from 584. But the bigger nerf is it now strikes every 1.5 seconds at gem level 1. It used to be 1 second at all. So in theory, they've lowered the damage here by roughly 40%. But in practice, they've lowered the damage here by maybe 15%, because in practice, we're actually just proccing Orb of Storms off using lightning skills, and that's the main reason for it to be in a build, is because it's incredible single target because we keep proccing it by using lightning skills. And they didn't touch on that. They didn't give it a cooldown or anything. A more appropriate nerf would have been to say you can only proc the extra use of that, say every half a second or something like that. And then that would have been still maybe worth using, but it would have been like a way more appropriate nerf to its damage, in my opinion. Pestilence Strike now gains additional melee range, yep. Punishment now causes cursed enemies to... I will answer tons of questions at the end. I'm just trying to mostly get through most of it. Plus, I'm going to want to talk about a bunch of it. Right, punishment now causes cursed enemies to have minus 20% to reduced physical damage taken. Nice double negative. The duration of the buff granted by cursed enemies when they hit you is now matches the base duration of the curse, which is 9 seconds, gem level 1 from 4. Okay. So they kind of ruined the punishment shenanigan, but to be honest, the punishment shenanigan should never have worked to begin with. Also, the negative reduced physical damage taken or whatever will affect their new like armor and stuff like that, but that can never go below 0. So you would either rely on punishment heavily, or you would just not use it because you would get it from other sources. There's probably some on the tree. They said there was going to be. We'll have a look when we get to the tree stuff, but still not impressed by punishment. Rain of Arrows now deals 48% of base damage from 40 up to 60 from 50. Really? Rain of Arrows. Like, the second highest dealing damage bow skill we had after, like, Scourge Arrow got a buff. Okay, cool. That's fine. Raised Spectre. Additional maximum Spectres are now unlocked at gem level 13 and 25 from 11 and 21. Ooh, I assume the extra one stays at 31. Okay. Oh god, here we go. Raised Zombie. The Zombie Slam ability now has a 6-second cooldown from 4. Ouch. The base radius is 17 units from 28. Ha ha ha. The slam is now slower and has 30% less base damage effectiveness at gem level 1, rising to the previous damage effectiveness around gem level 17. Okay. Okay. Zombies' base damage has been reduced by approximately 25% at all levels. No longer grant zombie more life as the gem levels, but zombies themselves do gain life with each gem level. Now increases the zombie area of effect by up to 76% at gem level 20. Okay, so area-wise, we're okay. Area-wise, we're okay. This reads a lot worse than it is. The life will be fine. Previously, we didn't have to invest into life at all. Like, you just didn't. Zombies just lived. Now we're going to have to take probably like 6 passive points in clusters we were already in, but just avoiding the life, maybe, to make them live as equal as they were before. Is it nerf? Yes. Is it called for? Probably. The life is fine. Like, we just have to put a few points into, you know, making them live. That's fine. My biggest concern, also the 25% less base damage at all, is weird to happen with the new armor thing, and it's gonna be hard to judge that, right? Because if it was just a 25% damage nerf, I'd say I'm on board. but we don't know how much armor everything's going to have, how much that's going to affect things, whether or not I'm going to be able to get armor pen on minions or something like that. So that's could be too much, but probably won't be. The largest problem by far, and the only problem that's meaningful, is Zombie Slam now has a 6-second cooldown from 4. Now, 4 was already arguably too long. Now, I know they did too much damage, and they hit too hard, and I get that, and I get that they needed a nerf. Lowering their damage was a good idea. Lowering the cooldown of their, or like raising, I guess, the cooldown of the only ability they actually do that's worth having them do anything is pretty big. Like, that's pretty big. I'm worried mostly about this top line. That is pretty huge. I'm worried mostly about that and a little bit about this, but only depending on how much armor things actually end up having and how impactful that is. If armor only takes off like another 10% of their damage, so they end up like 35% weaker in per hit than they were before, then they would still be fantastic. It's only the 6-second cooldown that's a big problem here. All right, Scourge Arrow now deals 28% of base damage from 40 up to 35 from 49. And now adds an okay-ish low amount of added chaos. So we nerfed Scourge Arrow by a pretty decent amount, but we buffed Rain of Arrows, which was like really not behind it by that far. Okay, cool. Shattering Steel now has a base attack multiplier of 85%. Yep, no one cares. Up to 55% effectiveness from 50%. Okay, good, nice. Shattering Steel is 5% stronger and still no one use it. Oh no, Smoke Mine. The buff granted by Smoke Mine now grants 10% increased movement speed at level 1, up from 20, up to 29 at level 20, which is the same. Okay, that's fine. That changes nothing. Like, okay, we get slightly less movement speed, but it changes nothing. It's still worth using. Good. Fantastic. Siege Ballista now requires level 12 for gem level 1 instead of 4. Now deals 100% base damage at gem level 1 from 140, up to 140% at gem level 20 from 170. Okay, so they changed it to Siege Ballista and nerfed it, but added 2 additional totems at all levels. Yep. Still interested to see how that goes. Very interesting. There's going to be a lot of Toxic Rain totems going on. In fact, I'm already considering Caustic Arrow, Toxic Rain Ballistas. Sounds like an okay build to me. Spectral Throw now has an attack time multiplier of 110% from 100%. Nice. Split Arrow now adds 1 to 2 attack physical damage at level 1, up to 56 to 58 at level 20. Pretty low, bud. Ooh. Soul Rend now has a base duration of 0.6 seconds at all gem levels from 0.4 seconds. That's decent. That is decent. I'm on board. I'm on board. Was anyone using Spectral Throw? No, and they're still not going to. Stormblast now deals 30% less damage at level 1. But more damage at level 20? Stormblast Mine now deals 2 to 7 lightning damage at level 1 from 3 to 10. Up to 334 to 1002 at level 20 from 305 to 915. I didn't think Stormblast was ever weak. But okay. Okay. Summon Raging Spirit will now try to travel to the location on your cursor. Your cursor was over at the point they were summoned, unless they find an enemy before they arrive. Yeah, okay. Yeah, alright, why not? Secondary projectiles now fade over time, similar to Freezing Pulse, but without a gradual drop-off. In other words, secondary projectiles will have a shorter range by default, but become increased with skill projectile speed. Cool. Oh, big boy. Toxic Rain now deals 7.9 base damage per second from 6.7. Up to 285 from 283. Up to 285.1 from 283.7. This is technically a buff, but also fucking what? It just it is. It's just to counter the like 10 more chaos res. I don't know. Vile Burning Arrow now has 100% converted to fire. Now it's 50% chance to ignite. Oh, it's just Burning Arrow, but a Vile version. For shit. Vile Spectral Throw, same. Venom Gaia now deals 90% base damage at level 1 from 80. Up to 115 from 104. Read the other lines. What is it? Is it different? Hang on. Hang on, now has a 50%. Vile Burning Arrow now deals 150% more damage with Ignite at gem level 1. Up to 188 at gem level 20. Now grants 1 fire damage over time multiplier per 2. I mean, it's pretty good, but it's pretty much... That Ignite is huge, but... Ignite damage is huge, but Ignite's never really been OP, so it probably just makes it like semi-competitive. I don't think that that's going to make it like a tier 1 skill, but it should feel good. Yeah, like it's good, but it's still Ignite damage, so... You compare it to Explosive Arrow? I don't yet. We'll go back through and over some of them and compare some things after. Oh no. Oh, I'm sorry everybody. Oh, I had easy like 400 orbs on the screen at a time. You ruined my build. Volatile Dead now has a limit of 60 orbs. The only fun way to play Volatile Dead is Ruin. Oh well. Support Gem reworks. Ranged attack totem now called Ballista. 50% less damage. Okay, so it's got a bit of a more of a less multiplier. Ordered skills now summon Ballista totems, right? Yep. But has 2 to maximums, yep. Oh! Attacks used by totems now have 50% less attack speed at all gem levels from 30% less. Did you fucking nerf Ballista totems before even letting them out the door? You guys know how bad low attack speed feels, right? Like, just lower the damage more and leave the attack speed alone. That is really bad. Ah, that's actually, I'm scared that that's gonna feel really bad. Okay. Like, damage-wise, it's probably okay, but that is a bad nerf. I think that's gonna be not fantastic. Right, support gem balance. Feeding Frenzy now grants 10% attack and move instead of 15. 15% instead of 24 damage. Yeah, that's fair. I'm still gonna use it. Fortify is now multiplicative with other sources, which we knew. Impale now grants supported skills minus 30% to total physical damage reduction against Impale hits at all gem level. Okay, so we added physical damage reduction. And then we took the only reason you would ever do physical damage and implicitly gave it a way to ignore it. Is that what I'm reading? Is that what I'm reading? We added physical damage reduction to mobs, and then the only reason you ever did physical damage was Impale. And so we made Impale ignore it. That seems very weird. Right, Inspiration Support now deals 5% more damage instead of 7. So 7% more damage instead of 8, level 20. Okay. Yeah, I'm aboard. That was pretty strong. Skills have 8% crit per charge instead of 10. That's fair. And probably, definitely, still makes it into your 6th link for every ability that can use it. Probably fair. It was a little bit better than every other support. I'm on board. LMP now deals 15% less projectile damage from 25 up to 6 instead of 16. That's okay. I'm fine with that. LMP is buffed. Alright, Minion damage support. Supported skills now deal 25% more damage at gem level 1 from 30 up to 49% at level 20. No change from previously. So we're just nerfing them early game again. Okay. Now grants 1% increased damage instead of 1.5 for 2 quality. Whatever. Oh no, here we go. Mirage Archer now deals 40% less damage with supported skills from 30% up to 31 instead of 11. Oof. But its targeting has been lowered to 70 units from 105. That's fine. Maybe. I'm gonna have to see how that feels. But maybe fine. Yeah, I don't think that's been hit too hard. I think that's still a little rough on the range, but I think it's fine. Onslaught support now has a 20% instead of 25% chance to gain Onslaught for 3 seconds instead of 8 seconds on dealing a killing blow at level 1 up to 6.8 at level 20. Yikes! I mean, I guess all the race records that are already set, they're it for a while now, eh? That's, yep. Point blank support. Supported skills, projectile attack now deals 30% more damage instead of 50%. Okay. Alright, cool. Okay. Volley support, again, same thing, just a better multiplier. Now has a new art. Oh, good. I have to learn what it looks like again. Fantastic. Passive tree, the point blank now causes projectiles to deal 30% at very close instead of 50 and up to 30% less from 50% less. Cool. Added a new cluster to the southeast of the Ranger. Watchtowers. This cluster provides bonus to attack totems and allows you to summon an additional ballista totem. The Ironwood cluster has moved to the south of the Duelist, has been expanded, and now includes 2 additional notables. Panapeticon and Surveillance. Panapeticon and Surveillance. Panopticon? That? Panopticon? Alright, Panopticon and Surveillance. Panoptimus Prime and Surveillance. Anyway, moving on. The movement speeds for minions granted by Ravenous Horde cluster has been halved. Youch. The Graceful Assault cluster has moved closer to the ranges from south of the Duelist. Yeah, okay, cool. The Horned Edge cluster has moved 1 passive to the east. You know what? We're going to have a look at most of these in the actual passive tree, which I assume is either already updated or will be by the time I finish. Check for update. I may have to convert over to Fork, which I've been meaning to do for ages to get an update, but we'll see. We'll see if it's there. Okay, let's not worry about most of that. Necromancer. Mindless Aggression now grants your minions 10% movement speed from 30. Commander of Darkness now grants the attack speed and cast speed aura as a single combined aura rather than a separate aura for each of the auras you have. This matters for effects that care how many buffs you have, such as Mantra of Flame. Yep, okay. Okay. Guardian. Unwavering Faith now grants the physical damage reduction in life as a single aura as well, rather than a separate one. Yeah, cool. It's fine. Endless Hunger now causes you to be unaffected by bleeding rather than immune. I guess we get to Flicker Strike more on a Slayer now? Otherwise, that's it? That's all that does? Just enables the use of that one jewel? I think. Alright, item balance. Assassin, Sniper, and Recurve bow base types now have a 6.7% base critical strike chance from 6.5. They now each have an implicit that grants plus 15 to plus 25 critical strike multiplier. Okay. Sealed and Reflex bow types now grant 6% increased movement speed from 4, and the Marcus bow now grants 10% movement speed from 8. Nice. Spine, Ivory, and Bow and Bone Bow base types have their attacks reach 1.4 instead of 1.35 and 6.5 crit from 6%. The damage has been lowered to allow for the change of attack speeds. Honestly, I don't know what a Spine, Ivory, or Bone bow base is. I'm pretty sure they've been hidden on my filter for the last 6 years. At a glance, I'm not sure I'm going to unhide them. The Ranger bow base type now deals slightly more damage. All wand base types now have 20% more base damage. Bows and wands can now roll increased attack speed modifiers, one higher tier than previously. Of Acclaimed is now the new highest tier. Essence of Zeal have been updated to be consistent with this change. Okay. Added Fire, Cold, and Lightning damage for bows no longer uses the same modifiers as those found on one-handed weapons. They instead now have their own progression, which is about 25% stronger than the one-handed equivalents. Cool. Crafted modifier. The faster start of energy shield recharge crafted modifiers. The lower tier now grants 8 to 11% from 12 to 17. Plus an alchemy orb. The higher tier now only rolls 12 to 15 from 24%. Now it does only cost 4 alchs instead of an exalt. But yikes. You can no longer craft the +1 maximum number of curses on body armors or unveil it from the Immortal Syndicate. You fucking what, mate? You fucking what, mate? Okay. Because it was already just like way too fun to unveil stuff from the Immortal Syndicate. So we'll make it just a little bit less fun by getting rid of one of the really good mods. Okay, wait, I'll keep going. You can no longer craft... oh man! You can no longer craft the veiled increased damage of specific elements with an ailment chance on bows. Crafted modifiers which grant elemental or chaos penetration on weapons now grant 9 to 10 instead of 14 to 16. The of crafted suffix, which previously allowed you to craft any number of additional modifiers, now has allowed you to craft blah 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 blah. We know you can only have 2 mods now. Multi-mod and 2 more. The veiled crafting modifiers with hybrid defenses, armor, energy, shield, evasion, and life have had their values halved and their tier progression split by item type. So we nerfed bows, and we nerfed mostly life builds, to be honest. That... good. It's always way too easy to find life when you're on the right-hand side of the tree as a ranger. So it's good that they're taking a bit more away of life. Just, fucking what? Anyway, that's fine. Yep, this was a bow league, right? Right, Shaper and Elder modifiers. The Shaper and Elder physical damage added as elements modifiers now grant 8 to 11 from 10 to 15, and 12 to 15 from 16 to 20. Physical damage as that element. The Shaper and Elder attack speed and double damage modifiers on two-handed now grants a 4 to 6% chance to deal double damage from 20%. Elemental penetration suffix can no longer roll. Prefix versions have been added instead. Bows can no longer roll the two-handed weapon version of added cold damage per dexterity. They can now roll the one-handed version instead. Increased maximum mana modifiers on helmets now grant 9 to 11. The higher tier increase all attribute modifiers on amulets can no longer roll. The higher tier elemental penetration modifier on amulets can no longer roll. The lower tier reduced reflected physical and elemental damage taken modifiers on body armor now grant 100% reduced reflect elemental or physical damage taken from 15 to 22. Wait, is that a massive buff? Okay, one buff in the midst a bunch of confusion. We can now all become reflect immune because what's the point of elementalists anyway? Anyway, non-chaos damage added as extra chaos damage on amulets is now 3 to 5% from 7 to 13. Elemental damage added as extra chaos modifiers on one-handed weapons now grants 5 to 6 from 10 to 15, and 7 to 8 from 16 to 20. Staves and War Staffs can now roll the two-handed version. Okay, this is dumb because the modifier Chaos as extra wasn't actually, like, Elemental as extra Chaos wasn't actually bad. What was bad is Shroud. Shroud is what's bad. So this makes it so that Shroud is still really good anyway, and you would still use it with that, but it makes it so that people who were just regularly using it without stacking and abusing it now have no reason to. They've nerfed that by enough that you would just replace that with it, you won't bother. So for your average Joe, they made this kind of useless. That's weird. That's weird. Nerf the extreme case at the end, not the entry-level case, but okay, that's just my opinion. Recover mana on block modifiers now gain 3 to 5% instead of 4 to 8, bringing them in line with energy shield equivalents. Yep, cool. You can no longer roll the higher tier additional chance to evade attack modifiers. You can still obtain the lower tiers. Okay. The all elemental resistance % modifiers on belt can now roll up to 13 to 15 instead of 9 to 12. Up to 18% instead of 15. Okay. You can no longer roll chance to maim and maim support modifiers on two-handed maces. Rip. Hope you didn't like your minion mace. I hope everyone enjoyed their minion maces. Hybrid physical damage and chance to support / spell damage supports modifiers can no longer roll on two-handed weapons. So we're talking like Fortify and Fizz, or Arcane Surge and spell damage, or like that stuff is that's just gone. Also, a Path of Math, thank you for the raid. I have notifications off while we go through this, but thank you. Okay, well, that's fine. It just means you're not going to wear combs anymore, right? You're always going to put your attack in your chest instead. But whatever. Added physical and chaos damage to spells on weapons now grant up to 76 from 50. Oh, so that's not bad. The two-handed version also got improved. So the added fizz and chaos rolls got buffed. Fossil crafting. Oh my god, you're fucking kidding me. The supported by main modifier from serrated fossils can no longer roll. What did melee do to you? Did melee come around and have sex with your mother? Why are you doing this? What the fuck? What the fuck? The damage taken from Mana Before Life from Lucent Fossil is now a prefix. Is consistent with the Shaper version. Existing versions will remain a suffix. The added maximum life and increased life modifiers from Pristine Fossils can no longer roll. What? Elemental penetration modifiers from fossils now grant 5 to 7 instead of 7 to 10 for two-handed versions, now up to 15 instead of 20. Prismatic fossil modifiers, the weapon elemental, yeah, now 12% instead of 20. What did melee do to you? What did melee do to you? There was a melee buff patch. You made them feel okay, but not quite there. Cyclone was great though. Then you nerfed the shit out of Cyclone, which put it back to still okay, but not great. Just like all the other melees got. Then you nerfed them. Now you're nerfing them again. I hope no one liked melee. Yeah, on the bright side, Sunder did get a new animation. That is right. So, you know. That happened. Yikes. Okay. Other item. Bloody hell, how long we got to go? Oh, not that long. Wow, this is actually not that long compared to normal. You won't play melee in the bow league. I mean, by the looks of these patch notes, I won't play bows in the bow league, but you know, here we go. Right, anyway. Other item changes. The Metatals. The Metatals modifier on boots, which grant a chance to dodge attacks or spells, now grant 5 to 6% from 12%. Existing versions can be updated with a Divine Orb if you want to be hit more often for some reason. Okay. Spell damage modifiers on one-handed weapons can now reach up to 109%. Spell League confirmed. Spell damage modifiers from two-handed weapons can now reach up to 164%. Yo, spell changes. Really good ones. Spell damage modifiers granted by Essence of Woe have been updated to be more consistent with the above changes. Increases to fire, cold, and lightning damage prefix have also been raised to match the above spell damage multipliers. Hello, Spell League. Guys, melee was too strong and was dominating the entire meta. We needed to buff spells and nerf melee a little in the bow league. Anyway. Cartographer's seals and unshaping orbs can no longer be obtained via their recipe and can no longer be used. They can now be sold at a vendor to recoup the original recipe components. That's a nice touch. Apprentice cartographer sextants are now called simple sextants. Journeyman's cartographer sextants have been renamed to prime sextants, and master cartography sextants have been renamed to awakened sextants. They each have a new art. Oh, that's now coming to you from Twitch Prime. Prime sextants. Okay. That's fantastic. Don't. Important. Now, every time I use Prime Sextants, I get to tell everyone not to forget about their Twitch Prime. That's just going to be constant. Every time we're using Sextants from now on. Oh, that's fantastic. What's with the Awakened stuff? That's this league. That's the whole expansion's name. The new Atlas is Awakened. Alright. Well, Sextants are no longer used on your Atlas. They are now used on your Watchstone, which can be socketed into your Atlas and affect all maps in that region. Reviewed and modified a bunch of stuff. Okay. The rewards from Legion and Blight Encounter have been tweaked. Well, that's good because Legion isn't handing out shit this league. The whole league, it's been complete garbage. The number of gems rewarded from the Labyrinth chest has been reduced. Because too many people were really excited about running Lab, and it was too strong? What? Okay. Modifiers exclusive to the Convoking 1 base type have had their relatively weightings adjusted. I'm going to assume that's a nerf and that it's harder to hit those modifiers and not easier. Skill-specific labyrinth enchants that increase skills' area of effect have had their values increased from 16 to 24. Well, you could just remove them. Some of these people are still hungover from ExileCon. That's what some of these patch notes are really confusing me. Right. The Blast Rain additional Blast Labyrinth enchant can no longer be acquired. The Eternal Labyrinth now grants 100% chance for an additional blast instead of 75. Existing items are not affected. Okay. Labyrinth enchants which previously granted increased duration to Eyeshot's Chilled Grand now grant increased damage with Eyeshot. This affects existing items. Cool. Labyrinth enchanted which grant area of effect to Shrapnel Shot now Galvanic Arrow. Can no longer be obtained. Existing ones will be... Oh, I love it when it says just can no longer be obtained. You skipped the massive sweep buff? Where? Labyrinth enchants which previously gained an additional knockback chance for sweep now instead gain chance to gain an endurance charge on kill with sweep. I literally couldn't care less. Shaper and Elder Scarabs have been reworked. They now add Shaper/Elder Influence outcomes to the map. Grant 30, 60, and 90% more chance to find Elder and Shaper rares in this area. Nice. The price of Protection Divination card has been temporarily disabled for dropping because Tier 16 Elder Shadow maps are no longer a thing. You can still turn in existing sets for a map from the previous series. Remove the Sextant upgrading recipe. Removed the Sextant upgrading recipe. Okay. Okay. Okay, Dan. Dan, okay. Okay, Dan. Dan, okay. Unique item balance. Reach of the Council is not changing this update. We have some cool plans for this item, but we could not get them ready in time. We're very sorry, Reach of the Council fans. In the Bow League? You didn't make it to Reach of the Council in the Bow League? That's like the top 3 things that I would have thought of. What? Okay. Volley fire is now limited to 1 and now causes you to fire 6 additional projectiles on the first and last volley, up from 2. Existing items can be updated to the new value with a Divine Orb, however all versions are affected by the new limit. Spell League 2.0 hype. Alright. Asena's Chant now triggers a socketed spell when you attack with a bow. Previously had a 25% chance. It now has a 0.3 second cooldown on this effect, previously 0.25. Cool. Cool, I guess. Ember Wake now causes ignited enemies to burn 50 to 65% slower from just being 65%. Cool. Hiram's Ire now has 100 to 145 from 188. And 200 instead of 262 cold damage. I feel like Hiram's Ire wasn't really a problem as much as dex stacking was, but that's also fine, yes. Will Rain now grants 30% less damage from 40% less damage. Sloth's nature no longer has ignite to inflict spread to other enemies, but now has supported by level 20 ignite prolif. We knew where that came from. We knew that was coming. Unshattered Will's damage reduction from the Harbinger's of Focus effect is now multiplicative with other similar effects. Oh, fuck. Oh, between that and Fortify, they have, like, hard-dicked the, like, deep delving jugs. We'll look through them in a minute, Pickle. Alright, Snakebite now also grants 5 damage over time, multiplier for poison per frenzy. Existing items are unaffected and cannot get this mod, okay. Namahu Flame Molten Burst now deals 15% more damage. This affects all versions of the item. It's actually my favorite way to Cyclone, so I'm on board. Hallowed Ground no longer overrides the level of the monsters in it. It now adds or subtracts a number of levels from the monster within based on this mod. This is due to the capacity it has now to be variable tiers. Existing versions of this item are not affected. Cool. Cool, cool. Hey, Viper. And we've got Pitch Darkness no longer drops and cannot be obtained by outside of trading with other players. Okay. Sudden Ignition no longer drops and cannot be obtained outside of playing with other players. It now prevents Burning Arrow from applying its additional burning debuff. Change affects all existing versions. Okay. Sybil's Lament now reduces reflected elemental damage taken by 80% while in the left ring slot from 40. Reduces reflected physical damage taken by 80% while in the right ring slot from 40. Existing versions can be updated using a Divine Orb. That's not bad. That and a Pantheon, you good, right? Just grab one of these and make sure you can swap it out for your ring when you need to, and suddenly anyone can run a reflect map, as long as you just gather them together and just swap into a Sybil's Lament. I'm alright. Urel's fostering minions are now immune to damage and cannot be targeted. Well, Toxic Rift now also allows you to shock enemies as if dealing 300% more damage, and allows Shock to Inflict to increase damage taken by enemies up to a maximum of 100%, as opposed to the normal shock cap of 50%. Holy fucking shitballs. You do what now? Okay, there's gonna be some shenanigans pulled with that during this league. Yeah, I saw the screenshot. I just didn't realize that that bit was happening. I didn't realize that. Please explain. Well, that's just, shock normally has a cap of 50%, which no one hits except elementalists that scale shock effect. Intentionally scaling shock effect. But if this one can get up to 100%, then it makes, if you're an elementalist scaling shock effect, you could probably get to 100%. And that would make a support that instantly doubled your damage just with that effect alone, not counting other things it brought. I think there's potential for Voltaxic Rift to be a support thing? I don't know, I would have to play with it. Alright, world changes. 2 new areas connected to the Epilogue Town have been added. They will be accessed by progressing through Kirak's quest? Helena now has something to say about the Order of the Jinn. Who the fuck is Kirak? Cool. Monster changes. Boss encounters throughout the entire campaign have been made more difficult. In most cases, they have significantly more life and will deal more damage. and use some skills and attacks more quickly. This is particularly true of act bosses. Several bosses also have new skills. Nice. Many bosses with lengthy introductions, such as the Brine King, now take reduced damage for a short period immediately after being targetable. What? That went the opposite way to what I thought that was going with. I'm sorry. That went the opposite way to how I thought that was going. At the start of that sentence, I thought that was going to be like, I've had their introduction times reduced. No, they just had, oh, and if you can preload damage, we're not going to count that. So, just, what? You picked the most annoying bosses and made them... Okay. Monsters throughout the game now have more armor, from 33% at level 1 up to 2,762% at level 84. It sounds a lot scarier as it is, because their base armor is stirringly unimpressive. Monsters' resistance throughout the game have been reviewed and made more consistent. In most cases, this resulted in more resistance on monsters. Okay. The wave skill used by some Sea Witch monsters, such as Mavail's Daughter, is no longer considered a projectile and will deal damage in a way that more accurately reflects its visuals. Okay. Whatever. Betrayal changes. The Mastermind will now drop scarabs when slain. Is that enough? No. All you need to do is make it not reset my entire board. That's all you have to do. Safe house outcomes that reward scarabs now have a chance to reward additional scarabs. Cool and all you have to do is make the Mastermind not reset my whole board, and I will start killing it all of the time. Okay, map changes. The Atlas has been completely reworked. There's a new storyline, new bosses, new encounters, and a new way to customize your Atlas. The Elder and Shaper and combined Elder Shaper encounters can be accessed. If you're lucky, Xena may offer a Shaper or Elder Guardian map. Elder Guardians are no longer in separate instances from that of their map. Like the bosses throughout the campaign, most map bosses have had their life significantly increased and the damage and speed of several of their skills increased. Many monsters are now also more resistant to elemental and chaos damage. Okay. When encountering Xena in a map, the number of map options she offered is now geared to the level of the area. Tied to the level of the area. Xena's level, which determines which map device crafting option you have available, as well as what Xena can stock in her window, is now determined by the number of maps you have completed on your Atlas. Alright, that makes sense. That kind of makes sense. I mean, you're getting rid of the storyline that we used to go through for it. So why not? Maps now have a 10% chance to contain a Val side area, where you can find sacrifice fragments and Val gems, and most importantly, 6 links. The Cortex map is now more commonly available from Xana relative to the other synthesis maps. It is now always level 83. Previously it had a variable level. All synthesis maps now require a minimum level 80 area to appear in Xana's missions. All 5 synthesis maps can now drop as unique items. They can only be acquired from map bosses tier 11 or greater. From map bosses tier 11 or greater maps. Am I misreading that? Or have they mistyped that? Or is there such thing as greater maps? There's an extra word in that sentence that makes it sound like there might be such thing as greater maps, but I'm pretty sure that's not what they meant. I'm pretty sure it just meant to be tier 11 or greater or higher. Tier 11 plus. Yeah. And tier 14 or greater for Cortex. If you're very, very lucky, maybe Xena will sell you one. Alright. Right, Xena mods we already know. User interface, I don't really care. Added additional slots in the fragment tab for Elder and Uber Elder fragments. Good. Stack sizes are no longer obscured by socketed resonated sockets. Yep. Cool. Xena will no longer award maps as you complete the Atlas questline. Instead, she will award free uses of her special map device league modifiers the first time they are unlocked. Added Shrapnel Ballista as a quest reward, added Arrow Nova, Ensnaring Arrow, Artillery Barrage, all of the things. Oh, look, into the important stuff, guys. PvP changes. PvP-only characters can no longer appear on league ladders. Barrage support now applies 20% damage penalty against players. The skills it supports. Arrow, I can't do it. I don't fucking care. Bug fixes. Let's go. Fixed a bug where Midnight Bargain Life Reservation wouldn't correctly maintain the hidden life reserve value if you died. Things that cared about your much life reserve, like Guardian, Faith passives. Okay, cool, whatever. Improved how Purifying Flame handles train elevation changes. This isn't perfect, but it's better. They buffed my mine build. Cool. Fixed a bug where if you were the first player to enter PvP, you could use body swap on a pet. It would unfortunately not transform you into the pet. Okay. Fixed a bug. We got, where was I up to? Right here. Fixed a bug. Fixed more weird betrayal states, particularly with certain safe house conditions. Okay. Fixed a bug where Legion monsters' auras could affect players and other monsters before they had even been revealed by activating the Legion monolith. Fixed a bug that caused mines to have a different rotation in the game client than the server. Okay. Fixed a bug where the smite on weapon effects could persist if you interrupted the skill with a movement. Okay. Fixed a bug where some projectiles that are supposed to fade over time would persist invisibly if they had forked from an enemy. Forking hell. Fixed a bug which caused Cobra Lash and Shattering Steel to behave poorly when targeting a location or enemy at a different height. They should now hit cliff faces a lot less often. Fixed a bug which caused everything. Fixed a bug where fireflies in the Delve Talisman encounters were not making monsters vulnerable. What the fuck are fireflies? What? Fixed a bug where Flame Dash with the Stygian effect would work incorrectly when using Predictive Network or playing on a console. Okay. Fixed a bug where if you use both Phase Run and Withering Step simultaneously, you would keep the effects of both. Yo, I didn't know that was a thing. I did not know that was a thing. Fixed a bug which called Act for Piety to not use her cleave nearly as often as she should. Okay. Fixed a bug where the visual effects of Cyclone Buff on Abrix, the Augury, would linger. Okay. Cool. Those are real words. Fixed a bug where standing on an enemy's consecrated ground would not correctly show the debuff or red border. Fixed a bug where binding advanced mod to control would prevent you from actually seeing the advanced mod descriptions while holding control. Fixed a bug where binding advanced mod descriptions to control would prevent you from actually seeing the advanced mod descriptions by holding control. The fucking what now? Fixed a wonky transition in the Savage Crab's animation set. Okay. Fixed a bug where the Syndicate Laboratory could generate with all walls blocking the entrance in the Slums tile set. Fixed a bug that prevented blighted relics from taking damage from ground effects. Fixed a bug where Thane Jorgen transform an amulet into a tier 3 would destroy skin transfers. Fixed a bug where the vulnerability from Coward's Legacy would not be reapplied after dying and reviving in PvP. Means someone stayed in PvP long enough to die twice. Smooth out some unnecessarily uneven ground in the battle-scarred hideout. The bug where insightfulness and quality blood magic support are linked to a skill. Your skill bar tooltip would flicker if your energy shield was regenerating and degenerating at the same time. Fixed the bug where the Blackguard Scout would have a levitating crossbow just like hanging out with them. I feel like you could just left that as a feature. That's really cool. Fix some bad delve paths where you would think you were going one way and then you would actually go another, much longer way. Yeah, that was fun. I did enjoy that. I'm pretty sure I started to sing We're Going on a Bear Hunt. Fixed a bad visual interaction with Celestial Leap Slam and Divine Arcane Wings. Fixed a bug when the enchanted fossil in the Delve stash tab was slightly too far to the left. That did annoy me. Thank you. Fixed a bug where the emerge sound played during the Delve spider encounter was unaffected by the volume slider. Lovely. Fixed some variations of the ornate planter hideout decoration which didn't have any collision. Fix some view districts in the towering hideout. Fix some niche cases of physical damage over time. Was unaffected by Immortal Call and Pride. Fixed a bug where the Hand of Wisdom in Action and Hand of Thought of Motion 3D art on the Marauder were incorrect. Cool. Fixed a bug where prophecies that dropped items could trigger the drop on enemies that were unreachable and untargetable, and therefore the items would also be unreachable. That's funny. Fixed a bug where the Heavy Strike visual could linger if you cancelled it with a movement ability. Who the fuck was playing Heavy Strike to tell him that? Fixed a bug which caused minions created by dominating blow to not use their shield charge. Cool. Fixed a bug introduced in 3.8 where monster generation is specific and rewards for specific types from Legion encounters would never roll their maximum value, resulting in less items being awarded than intended. Have I not been saying all League? Legion is suddenly really fucking shit. I thought they just fucked it. I didn't think it was a bug. But I'm like, Legion's just kind of garbage, guys. You never get anything. Alright, I'm happy with that. Fixed a bug where the extra effect applied to shocked enemies by rattling brain was being modified by some modifiers to shock effect. Okay. Fixed a bug where shock was considered the same ailment as chill for the yoke of suffering. Fixed a bug where sap, brittle, and scorch were also considered the same as chill for the purposes of increased damage taken from the yoke of suffering's effect. Fixed a bug where poison was considered the same as ignite for the sake of yoke of suffering's effect. Basically, yoke of suffering was broken. Shaper and Elder modifiers. Edit. You can no longer roll the highest tier of additional chance to pave. You can still obtain the lower tiers. Okay. You can no longer craft a veiled increased damage to specific ailments with bows. Yep. There's another new edit. Edit. On hit effects such as chance to knockback are determined by the exploding arrow. However, each arrow calculates its own damage, including critical strike chance and the damage and ailments independently. These are then summed up to create one hit. Each arrow checks its own critical strike chance and only has its critical strike multiplier applied to that arrow's portion of the damage. If that arrow rolls a critical strike, but if any arrow rolls a critical strike, this combined explosion will be considered a crit for on-crit effects. The same is true for damaging ailments such as ignite. For example, if the explosive arrow did not successfully roll a critical strike or ignite... Wait, hang on. For example, if the exploding arrow did not successfully roll a critical strike or ignite, that part of the explosion will have no ignite damage or critical strike multiplier. If two other arrows were also attached at the point of the explosion, and they successfully rolled a critical strike, they will add their critical strike damage to the explosion, and the explosion will cause an ignite from their summed ignite damage. Okay. Now, separate weapon elemental damages for one-hander. All values of weapon elemental damage have been buffed, and the highest one-handed tier is now topping out at 49%. Yeah, this actually makes EA really, really good. I think this makes Explosive Arrow actually pretty fucking good. Separate weapon elemental damage. All modifiers have been upgraded. The elemental damage modifier from pristine fossils have had their values lowered. The two-handed version now tops out at 94%. And the one-handed version at 69%. Okay, chance to bleed, chance to poison, poison duration, bleed duration modifiers can no longer roll as suffix on weapons. The suffix mods that granted increased poison/beating damage now have higher values and also grant some chance to inflicted. Okay. Added the new damage over time multiplier modifier, which can roll on all weapons and quivers as a suffix. Added a new modifier which grants the additional arrow, which can roll on bows as a suffix. Fucking what? What, just like straight up on regular bows? The bow attack fire an additional from Elder Influence now grants 1+1 projectiles. I mean, I can get +1 projectiles and bows fire an extra attack on the same bow and get 3 projectiles just out of my bow. Okay, well that is all of the edits for now. Closing thoughts before I stop recording. Gonna be an interesting spell league. I'm overstating that slightly. Bows and ballistas will still be pretty good overall. Melee got hard dicked. And there's still something missing from the patch notes. Just in case I missed it really quick. No? No? Okay, fucking... The big winner from the entire patch notes is that Herald of Agony didn't get fucking touched. Are you kidding me? Just in case I missed it, I had to search. Herald of Agony not touched again, so... Herald of Agony, Mana Guardians not touched again. Spells buffed pretty well. Minions nerfed probably an appropriate amount. Bows look okay, but I'm not super excited having read the patch notes about bows in general, or about ballista totems in general, especially that 50% less attack speed. Pretty happy I decided to start with a spell build because spells got rather nicely treated. Alright, I'm happy with that. Now we've got to start building league start trees. So, nice. Is there anything else? Did I miss anything else? No, I did not. Alright, well then this is where I stop. Goodbye, YouTube.